Hello and welcome to our Creatio Tech Hour. I'm Yovko, Creatio Academy trainer, and today we are diving into the topic of intermediate events in Creatio business processes. This tutorial is designed for those of you who already have some experience with Creatio. So if you're new, I would suggest to check out and attend one of our guided learnings first. So today's focus will be on the 5 types of intermediate events. This will be throw signal, throw message, wait for signal, wait for message, and wait for timer. So let's get started. As we're speaking about intermediate events, the first point will be to go to our process library and go and create a new process. So first I'm going to explain you the theory behind the intermediate events, and after that we'll go and see some practical cases. So the intermediate events, they are located on the panel on the left. Right, you can find all of the elements, and the intermediate events are here, this marked with the orange. So first we are going to start with the throw signal. Right, so I just grab the element, I will paste it here, and now if I want to change the type, I will just have to go to the cogwheel, and you can see the rest of the elements are also here. But we are going to start with a throw a signal. Throw a signal intermediate event is used to broadcast a signal that can be called by any wait for signal event within the same process or different processes. Right, so here, this throw signal, it can be in the same process or different processes. And this is particularly useful for triggering actions in parallel processes. And I'll give you one example. For example, after finishing processing an order, as a part of one process, you can notify all other processes that a new order has been processed. How to do this? We just only need to configure the signal name. So for example, here, I can generate my signal and I can say order processed. And if you're generating and throwing the signal, we can't let the signal to be standing alone in there. We need another intermediate event to catch this signal. And this element will be wait for signal. Right, so we generate the signal, we send it, now we have to receive it. So here we have wait for signal. Now, this event, wait for signal, it's designed to pause the process until a specific signal is received. So it's a very powerful element for synchronizing processes and ensuring that certain conditions are met before proceeding. And as you can see, this element can receive two types of signals. We can have a custom signal or a record signal. The custom signal, it's when a corresponding signal is generated by the throw signal intermediate event in any other business processes. Right, so custom signal, if I choose it here, I just have to specify which signal we are waiting to receive. And on the other side, the record signal, this is when corresponding Creatio record is modified or deleted. So for here, if you want to configure the record signal, we have to specify the record ID and the object. For example, here I can take a order. I have to specify which event triggered the signal. Is it record modified or deleted? And say, if I select record modified, I also have to specify where do I expect the changes to be made. It can be in any of the fields, or maybe I'm expecting these changes to be made in any of the selected fields, so I have to specify which field exactly I'm expecting the changes to be made. So here in the first element, I send a signal, order processed. So I will take the same signal, I'll change this to custom signal, and here I receive it. Right now, these elements, they're not connected to any business process, and I'm not connecting them to any business process. I just want to show you the logic and how to configure these elements. But In the real scenarios, they will be placed in the middle, right? It's not a starting point or an end point. These are elements that are happening during the execution of the business process. And another important thing, since we're talking about signals, when we draw a signal, this signal can also start another business process. To do that, we will need a starting point. We have to change it to a signal. And again, we can specify custom signal or object signal. The object signal, it works similar to wait for signal. So we have to specify the object. Again, I'll go for order. And which event triggered the signal. Here we have 3 events: record added, modified, or deleted. But let's focus on the custom signal. So if I throw a message, order processed, this message can be called by another business process, and the business process can start. Right? So a part of receiving these messages during the execution of the business process, we can also use them at the beginning as a starting point, and we can use this custom signal. And you have to make sure that the signals are written exactly in the same way, so the system can recognize them and it can trigger the necessary actions. So that was the first elements. The second, let's take a look at the throw message. So I'll change to throw message. Similar to throw signal, this event sends a message that can be received by wait for message event. And so if you are throwing a message, again, we need another element, wait for message. Now, the key difference here is that the generated message will activate wait for message, or it can initiate event subprocess within the current business process. So the main difference is that the signals, they were working for the current business process and any other active business process, where on the other side, the messages, they can be used only within the same business process. But and here we have the same. First, we have to generate the message. Let's say contract signed. This is my message. And then the same message, I can use the wait for message signal. I'm waiting for this message again. The messages need to match. And another thing I mentioned about the event subprocesses. So here, the difference, we cannot start another process, but what we can do is to create kind of a sub-process within the current business process. And how do we do that? Under the system actions, we have an element called event subprocesses. So if I take this element, if I add it here, and I have here a starting point. So I can change my starting point to a message. And here I can specify which message I'm waiting for. So I can take this contract signed. That's the message. And here I can create like a sub-process that started based on this message. Later on, I'll show you, we have very nice out-of-the-box business process that is using exactly this event subprocess. So actually you will see how this can be implemented practically. And the last thing with the intermediate events, that would be the wait for timer. And this element is used to pause the process for a certain period of time. And this process will resume when the specified period of time expires. And I'll give you an example. Let's create very simple flow. We want to create a business process that create a task for the user to check for invoice payment 5 days after the invoice has been issued. So an example how this business process can look like. First, we can take open edit page. And let's say this is issue an invoice. We will connect with the timer. We are waiting for 5 days. And after that, we are creating a task for the user to check the payment status. Check invoice status. I will not configure all of the elements. I just want to show you the configuration of this wait for timer. In the wait for timer, we have to specify the period of time that we want to pause, and here you can see that the time is in seconds. So if I want to wait for 5 days, I need to convert this 5 days into seconds. So in that case, that would be 432,000 seconds. So once we have issued an invoice, this flow will get triggered. We come to wait for timer. The timer starts countdown, and after this seconds finish, we go and the task will be created. Let's check invoice status. Okay, that's wait for timer. So this is theoretically how the elements work. Next, we are going to cover a few custom business processes. I'm going to show you one already created business process, and we are also going to create together 2 business processes. They will be short ones, but I want to show you how you different ways how you can generate the messages and how do they actually behave during the execution of these processes. And after that, I will show you also a couple of business processes that are out of the box, and you can take a look at them, and we'll see how they're structured and what's the logic behind them. So let's start with creating the business processes. First, I'm going to show you one business process that I have already created, and that is to create a new contract. Let's see what's in the business process. So here, that is my business process. So what happens inside? First, this business process starts by a signal. We have object signal, and the process starts when a new order is created. So my object is order, and the trigger is record added. So every time your order is created, this business process will be executed. Next element, we want to read the order, right? We want to get some information for this order, and then we have the exclusive gateway. And here we have one conditional flow, and we are checking for the payment amount. If the payment amount is more than 1,000, what happens? We are creating a contract. We are creating a contract, and after the contract is created, what we are doing is we are generating a message, right? We are throwing a message, and our message is this: contract created. So that's one flow. The second flow, it's our default flow. So what happens if in any other case, so if the payment amount is less than 1,000, well, we need to call the client. So we have here a user task. We have to call the client, and after the meeting is scheduled, we have an approval. Right? We want to approve the order. After we approve the order, we also need to generate a message that the contract was created. Then, after since we have throw a message, we need to receive this message. Right? So here, that's our signal to wait for message. And the message is the same that the one that we were generating, contract created. And our last task, after we receive a message that the contract is created, we want the users to finalize the order. Now that might not be the best business process for real cases, but I just want to show you what is the behavior of this intermediate events and how do they work. So the main idea is once the message is generated, right? So let's say we read the order, the payment amount is more than 1,000, contract is created, the message will be generated, and then what happens? The business process immediately jumps here, right? Contract is created, and then we have the task will be created to finalize the order, right? So it's kind of skipping the steps and moving from throwing a message to receiving a message and then going to the next elements. Right, so this is one business process and how you can incorporate the messages. So let's see how this process works. So we said that this business process is triggered by a signal, and the signal is new order. So let's go to orders and let's create new order. I will select account, and I will also create a payment amount that would be more than 1,000, let's say 2,500, and I will select save. Now the order is created. What should have happened? We should have a new contract. New contract created, and indeed you can see that this contract was created now. So our business process executes correctly. So what else happened is we received a task to finalize the order. So that's my task. Let's open the task and let's complete it. And after we complete the task, we'll also go to the process log to actually see what happens there. Okay, let's see if I can change the status from here. Say completed, save. And now the task is removed from here. So let's go and let's see in the process log what happened. Well, we have the business process that's running here, create a contract, and we see that it's completed. So I will open the log and I will go to the actions execution diagram just to see what's the logic behind it, which elements were executed. So first, the business process started correctly. We read the order. The business process recognized that the payment amount is more than 1,000. Then it created the contract. The message was generated. And what happens is the message was generated. It was also received by wait for message signal. And then this flow was activated and the task was created. And since we also completed the task, the business process is terminated correctly and all the elements were executed with no errors. So see how it's all of these elements, they didn't execute, right? Because we didn't trigger these flows. And the purpose of throw a message is like move from here, we are activating this flow and we go to whatever is next. So that's how you can use the messages. So again, the throw a message and receive a message, they can be used within the same business process. So that's one of the business processes. Next, let's create a new business processes and let's test how throw a signal and receive signal works. So for that purpose, I will go to process library and I'll create a new process. So first, let me show you what we are aiming. This will be the first business process, we want to cancel the order. So here we are canceling the order. This business process will be launched via button. We are going to add a button on the order page. Then we will show auto-generated page for the users to confirm the cancellation if they are sure that they want to cancel or they don't want to cancel. And after they confirm, we will modify the status of the order to canceled. Then here on this element, on the confirm cancellation, we are going to create two buttons and we are going to generate a signal. We're going to generate a signal, and this signal, what it will do, it will trigger another business process. So that will be the other business process that we're going to create. So here it will catch the signal from the previous business process, it will create activity, and after that we're going to use this event-based gateway, waiting for the status of this activity to change. And if the status is canceled, we are going to send email to the order. And if the activity is completed, we are going to terminate the process. Right, so here we are using the signals in the beginning of the business process and also during the execution of the business process. So let's quickly build these processes. So first we're going to start with cancel order. Cancel order. The first thing that we need is our parameter. So we need the ID and we need the order ID. Order ID, unique identifier, save. That's our starting point. After that, we want a auto-generated page. This page will just ask the user to confirm if they really want to cancel the order. Let's call this confirm cancellation. Page title. Do you confirm the cancellation? We are going to keep the user as the current user contact, and we're also going to use some buttons. I will add one button. That would be yes, cancel. Code, let's cancel. Default, let's add it red. And here you can see that for the auto-generated page, what we can do, we can generate a signal. Right, so this is the same signal that can be sent and then received by element wait for signal. So generate a signal. We are going to generate order canceled. Order canceled and save. And the second button in case the person doesn't want to cancel. No, don't cancel. And we don't generate a signal. Style, I'll keep it default and save. That's the first element. The next element, we want to modify the status. Here, modify status. Which object? We are in orders. And we want to filter by ID. Favorite parameter, our order ID parameter. And then what do we want to modify? Well, we want to modify the status. Status, and if the person confirmed the cancellation, we would like to go to status canceled. And here we will have a condition, conditional flow. If the person select yes, cancel, we are modifying the status, and after that we terminate the process. That's the first thing. That's our business process. And now I will save this one. Now we are going to create the second business process, and after that we are going to connect the business processes with the buttons on the form page. So the next business process, it will catch the signal that we just created here in the auto-generated page. So I'll create a new process. And this process will create a task to review the invoices. Right, so after the order is canceled, I want to send a task to the team and review all the pending invoices. Review invoices. My starting point, it will not be a simple start, but it will be a signal. And again, for the signal, as we talked a while ago, we can have custom signal and object signal. For us, that would be custom one. And the signal that we created was order canceled. Order canceled. What happens if we receive the signal where we want to add data, we want to create a task. Add data, create activity. Which object we want to create an activity, so that would be object activity. We are adding one record, and let's add some of the fields. So we want the category, subject. Let's also add status. Let's add owner. And also let's assign a role. This will be the fields that we want to populate when we are creating the activity. The category, that would be to do. The owner, let's keep it as the current user contact. And the role, let's assign this to our accounting department. The status, since this is a new activity, that would be not started. And for the subject, we are going to add some title. So order has been canceled, and review any pending invoices. That's the subject of our task. Create activity. Now, after the activity is created, what do we want next? We want, based on the result of this activity, to trigger some additional flows. And we also want to use the signals. So how do we wait for multiple signals? To wait for multiple signals, we need a gateway, and we need the event-based gateway. Right, so I'm going to add the event-based gateway. This gateway is used to branch a process when alternative paths are determined by the events. And the events, as we said, that can be throw message, throw signal, and wait for timer. So here we are not using any conditions, but rather we are waiting for events. So what happened first? Do we receive a signal, or some specific time has passed, and so on? First, we want only 2 signals. So I'm going to add 1 signal. If the status is canceled, but that would be wait for signal. Wait for signal, we are pick this ID. The object is activity. Which event triggered the signal? Where we are waiting for modification. Modification in the status. And we're waiting for a signal where the status is canceled. So here I have to add condition where status equals compare with value canceled. That's one. And the second signal that we are going to add, again, we are waiting for signal. And that would be the signal completed. Again, linking to the ID, object, activity, which event triggered the signal, record modified, and we're expecting change in field status. And what's the condition? Status equals completed. Then, if the status is canceled, we can create a task for the for a user, or maybe we want to send an email. Now, in this demo environment, I don't have any email configuration, but I just want to show you that we can connect with the next tasks. So, for example, we can send email to the owner. And if the task is completed, we just terminate the business process. And this is how we utilized the signals as a starting point, and also within the business process, also using the event-based gateway. So you see here, the event-based gateway will wait for these signals, and whichever signal happened first, this flow will be triggered. So I will save this process. And I will go to orders, and I need to create a button that will cancel the order. So I will edit this page. I will add button. And this button will be to cancel the order. Cancel order, that would be a warning. Action, I want to run a process. Which process to run? Well, the one that we just created, the order, cancel order. We want to run it for the selected page, and we are passing the order ID, the order ID parameter. And let's save. Let's change the names. One or the selected page, order ID, save. Next, we are going to create new order and try to cancel it. And let's see how these business processes interact and what will be triggered. All is saved. Go to orders. Let's reload the page to make sure all changes are applied. And we'll test the business process. I will use already existing order, let's say order 19. I have the button, say cancel order. And I see my auto-generated page. So what I have here, I have one button to cancel the order and the other button, no, don't cancel. If I select no, don't cancel, the process will terminate. But if I click yes, cancel, this will generate a signal, and this signal will trigger the other business process that we created. It will trigger the business process and the following elements. So I will select yes, cancel. Now, what happened? The status is modified now to canceled. That's our modify data element. And now if I go to my activities, I go to the tasks, I should be able to see a new task created. Right, so here it is. That order has been canceled and I have to review all the pending invoices with the corresponding status, category, and the subject that we created. So let's go to our process log and let's see how the execution of the elements looks like. So first we have cancel order. Open, we can see that all the elements got executed. Also, let's check the execution diagram. So we confirm the cancellation, the signal was generated, status was modified, and the business process is terminated. And since we generated a signal, our second business process got created. Let's see the execution diagram. The system created activity, and you see that both of these events actually got executed because the event-based gateway, it's kind of launching both of them and it's waiting, right? Which one will be executed first? And if this one got executed first, this one will be canceled. Right, so let's see how is this work. Right, so we have we created the activity and now the business process is waiting for one of these to be complete, to be executed, canceled or completed. Now we have an error because we didn't configure our email settings, but I just want to show you what happens. Right, so now these two are pending and the system is waiting. What will be the result of the create activity? Is the activity going to be canceled or is going to be completed? If it's canceled, we are going to send email to the order, to the owner. And if the task is completed, we are going to terminate the process. So this is another way how you can use the signals. Right? So just remember that the signals can be also generated from buttons in the auto-generated page. And again, they can be received in the same business process or they can be received from other business processes. And these are the few business processes that I wanted to show you. And now I want to show you also a couple of business processes that we have out of the box, which are using this intermediate events. So go to process library. And the first business process that I want to show you is order approval. Order approval. Now, I'm not going to go into specifications of all of these elements. What I want to show you, it's actually this sub-process. The sub-process is using, again, the elements. So you see, it's something similar that I just showed you. So what we have the sub-process. We have some gateway, some conditions, but the important thing is what happens here. A new approval is generated, right? So we have add data. We are generating new approval with all of the necessary information about the order, approver, the purpose, and if we can delegate the permissions. And then what happens? We have event-based gateway, and we are waiting which event will happen first, which signal we are going to receive from this task. If the approval will be granted, if the approval will be rejected, or the approval will be cancelled. So whatever signal happened first, it will trigger the corresponding flow. And we have the formulas to specify the result. Right, so here we have the result, and then this result will be passed to the parent business process. Right, so from here, and from here, we have the conditional flows. What happens if the approval is rejected? What happens if the approval is granted? And we also have the default flow. So you see, that's an example of out-of-the-box business process where it uses the receiving signals and the event-based gateway. So that's one of the business processes that I want to show you. And the other business process is calculate total in order product. Now again, this business process is out of the box, and it might look very complicated, but we're not going to go through all of the explanation how this process works. But I want you to focus here in this part. Actually, that's a great process to show about these elements. This process is calculating the total in the order product. Here we have these triggers. Right, so when the total is recalculated, well, when we are adding new product, then we have the calculation. Then what happens if we modify something in this order, right? We need to recalculate this. So if something is modified, for example, if we modify the price, the product quantity, the discount, or the tax, what happens? Then we don't use any of this flows here. What happens, let's say if we are modifying the price, we go to the gateway, and this flow here is triggered. Price is modified. Then we're waiting for the timer for something to happen in the background, but then the system generates a message. It generates a message that to start the order recalculation. So from here, we are using the subprocess. So as I told you, the messages, they can be used only in the same business process. They cannot be used in other business processes. But what you can do is you can create an event subprocess. This is exactly what's happening here. This message triggers this subprocess. Right, so here you can see that the starting point is start order recalculation, the same message that we generate here. So here is 1, 2. The system has some elements to recalculate the total, and by the end of this subprocess, what happens is the system generates another message. So you see, we don't have terminate event. How do we terminate? We terminate with a message. We're throwing another message, end order recalculation. And this message is then called by this element, wait for message. Wait for message, end order recalculation, and the business process will be terminated. And the same happens for any of the rest of the triggers. If the quantity was modified, again, we are going to this gateway, then this flow will be activated. Again, we are generating a message. We start the subprocess. The recalculation will happen. Another message will be generated. We are going back here. It will be received, and we terminate the process. And this is another example with out of the box and a bit of an explanation of how this complex looking business process is actually not so much complex, but it's actually very nicely done and interesting if you break it down, and if you know how these intermediate events work and how we can throw a message and receive a message. So these are the essential tools for building dynamic business processes. Today we learned more about the event intermediate business processes and the events, how to throw message, receive message, and the same for the signals. If you have any questions or you need any further clarifications, please leave us a comment below. And we are waiting to see you for our next week, for our next tech hour. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.